lovely wife made me this Mega Man shirt a while ago, and I hadn't worn it until today. It's got these cool sleeves on it. So, and I thought it kind of matches my San Diego Chargers hat. Now, since we all agree on MMA, let's move on. I did a video about music, my favorite songs, and these are Akbar stickers, or, well, magnets, that I got from a subscriber on my hockey channel that state, "It's a trap, Admiral Akbar." For no reason at all, I'm putting them up here before I talk about my favorite bands, because when I talked about my favorite songs, people are like, you should talk, what are your favorite bands? So now I'm going to do my favorite bands slash artists. So this includes singers who sing by themselves that don't have a band. And I have the trap up here because to remind myself, this is probably a trap. I'm walking right into it, and I want to know at the beginning what I'm walking into. So let's go ahead and get to the 50, my 50 favorite artists. So we'll go ahead and, I think I picked a crappy marker too. Yeah, I did. You go ahead and pick a marker that doesn't suck. I have a ton of markers. But I want it to match what I'm wearing because, skills. I'm wearing a white sock and a black sock, but they're both Blackhawk socks, so I figured because they're both Chicago Blackhawks, they match. Can't wait till Yvonne gets home and goes, wait, no. Alright, my 50 favorite artists slash bands, and this was a list I came up with a while ago, and I just figured I'd go ahead and do it. And honorable mention to the Beatles. The Beatles are not on the list because they were not one of my favorite bands, but clearly they revolutionized music as we know it. Deep Purple, Black Sabbath are also on that list of bands that influenced and changed music. Ozzy Osbourne, not on my personal favorites, but yes, they absolutely revolutionized music, and I tip my hat to them. David Bowie's another one. I could go on and on. Number 50. She'd be higher up. I think that's how it's spelled. Alanis Morissette. Alanis Morissette started out as a pop singer, and I liked her pop albums. I actually had them on tape. I had both of her pop albums on tape. So when Jagged Little Pill came out, I bought it the first week before it was all over the charts, and everybody was like, "Oh wow!" And I listened to it, and I'm like, "What happened here?" So I went to my friends and I said, "You guys need to hear this new Alanis Morissette album." And they're like, "Really, Alanis? She sucks." And I'm like, "No, you really need to hear this. This is completely different." Whatever, dude. She just sucks. You're an idiot for listening to her. And 6 months later, those same people are like, "Man, I love that. That. You ought to know. It's such like it just speaks to me." And I was like, "Shut up." It spoke to me first, jerks. And she'd be higher up, but after Jagged Little Pill, the quality dipped. Not her singles, but just the overall album. I remember I got Supposed Former Infatuation Junkie, a very wordy album, both in its title and in its album itself. If you never listened to it, I don't recommend it because she doesn't shut up long enough for any of the instruments to work. She never once in the entire album just stops singing. There's no guitar solos, there's no drum, nothing. It's just her constant. But the first time I listened to it at the end of the album, I was like, shut up! Shut up! Let me hear the music! So that's why she's not higher than 50. Which is too bad because Uninvited is still absolutely fan-flipping-tastic. Number 49. Rolling Stones. And let me be clear, 60s and 70s Rolling Stones, not the 80s, 90s, and beyond. For Gimme Shelter alone, they get on this chart. For songs like Mother's Little Helper, Time's on My Side, basically all of Hot Rocks. If you have the Hot Rocks album, which is all of their greatest hits from the late 60s, early 70s, those are my favorite songs from them too. After that, there's some okay songs from the 80s. One Hit to the Body is okay. Harlem Shuffle's kind of dated. There's some okay stuff, but for the most part, their best stuff was in the 60s and 70s, which is why they're here. Number 48. I'm not writing And the Heartbreakers because we don't think of And the Heartbreakers, we think of Tom Petty. My favorite Tom Petty song is Climb That Hill, which is from the movie She's the One, which nobody bought the soundtrack for except me. And it's a great song that's completely been forgotten. So if you've never heard "Climb That Hill" by Tom Petty, go look it up, and you're welcome. And "Running Down a Dream" is to this day a song I never ever get tired of. And while some of his songs I do get tired of, like "I Won't Back Down," if I hear it one more time being played in a sports setting that doesn't match if you listen to the rest of the lyrics other than the title, I swear I'm going to scream. But Tom Petty's still one of the greatest. 47. Aerosmith. Aerosmith would be higher if not for their commercialization in the late 80s, early 90s, where they lost some of that edge. And then after Get a Grip's a great album. Great, fantastic album. But after Get a Grip, it kind of. Which is weird because Get a Grip is get a grip on yourself. And they got a grip, and they got a grip on some money. And they decided they really liked that money, so their music from there kind of went downhill. And I like, I heard Deuces Are Wild yesterday at work, and I got to admit that's one of my favorites from them. But Ragdoll. Ragdoll to me is still their greatest song. Love Ragdoll. Fantastic song. Number 46. Gotta have Canadian. There's a Canadian here and a Canadian here. Tea Party. Tea Party. The first time I heard them, I was like, wait, is this Jim Morrison? And then I watched the video and I'm like, no, seriously, is this Jim Morrison? I'm pretty sure this is Jim Morrison's illegitimate child that's singing to us. I don't know that Jeff is necessarily his illegitimate kid, but it's close. Tea Party went on to do some fantastic songs, and they're here for Fire in the Head and Sister Awake. Sister Awake is just a brilliant song from start to finish, and they're kind of an amazing band. There are some of their songs that are just so weird that I'm not a fan, but again, that's kind of that Doors thing that they have in there. It's kind of obvious in that kind of stuff. 45. This is a band I discovered because of concerts. You're going to see a few of those. Combi Christ. They were opening for Rammstein in Edmonton. I was going to the concert, so I thought, well, I should know the opening artist. I always recommend looking up the opening artists, the opening acts, looking at the music and saying, is this something I'm going to like? Combi Christ, absolutely awesome. By the time I get there to Edmonton, this was 2011, I knew all their songs. I was singing along with some of them, and I look around and it's like, there's one other person in the crowd that likes them. This is stupid. And you could tell the crowd was waiting for Rammstein, which I understand because Rammstein's really high on this countdown. But Combi Christ is kind of kick-ass by themselves. And if they're ever coming through Vancouver and I can go see them, I absolutely would go see them as headliners. Hey, What's Wrong With You People is a fantastic song. There's some swear words in there as well. A lot of swearing in their music. If we're going to put explicit advisory stickers, we're going to start with Combi Christ. There's a lot of it. But great band. Fantastic band. Great live. Can't recommend them more. Number 44, and I'm waiting to see these guys live. Taylor Momsen, from age 17, has had a voice that is not meant for a 17-year-old. She has an amount of soul and feeling to her music that belies her age. She's really fantastic. And the Pretty Reckless are kind of awesome. I have one of their albums, which is their most recent one, and I definitely will pick up others when I find deals on them. I'm cheap. I know. And Taylor is just fantastic, and I've seen live snippets of them, and she can really sing. And it's nice to see in an era where you could just take a pretty face, you can get a backing track in there, you can get some backing singers in there, and it doesn't matter whether she can sing or not, she's pretty. Taylor Momsen is legitimately just as pretty as Katy Perry or Britney Spears or any of them. But she's going the hard route to getting to that fame. And I respect her for that. And she's singing rock and roll, which is not going to be as easy to get famous off of as singing pop hits. And I think if she'd sang pop hits, I think she'd be right up there with other pop artists and icons. But she's got one hell of a voice. And the one that I would use as an example of that is Fergie. Stacey Ferguson can sing. Stacey Ferguson's a fantastic singer. But she got more famous rapping and doing kind of lame songs when she was on her own. There are some really bad songs that have been released by Fergie as Fergie, and yet you listen to her sing Barracuda with Heart, and she's fantastic. So, it's hard to do what Taylor Momsen's doing, and I respect her for it. And Fergie's not on this chart. 43. This one's going to surprise people because I don't really talk about them, but every time I hear a song from the Hollywood Undead, I'm impressed, and I usually end up sort of nodding my head to it, getting into the beat and into the music. And I don't think these guys have a musical genre that they necessarily fit into. They're rock, there's some metal, and of obviously the way that they sing, it's rap music. So it could be anything. And it all works together. It all somehow works together. You're not going to notice a lot of rap on this countdown, or rap artists. Eminem missed the cut, as a for instance. I didn't think he would, but he did. And Cypress Hill barely missed the cut. I was going to put Cypress Hill at 50, and I was like, I can't cut Alanis out in favor of Cypress Hill. So if we're going to be completely honest, Cypress Hill gets 51. For Cock the Hammer, they get 51. And if you don't know what Cock the Hammer by Cypress Hill is, you gotta go look that one up too. But Hollywood Undead, right from the song called Undead, I loved these guys. I knew they were great. The lyrics, there's a lot of swearing. Lots. Tons. It is wall to wall, but they're a great band, so they're fun to listen to. Number 42, because they're fun, ZZ Top. Yeah. There's so many really good songs. There's so many iconic songs. True, they haven't had any really iconic songs since the 80s, but who cares? There are still days where I find myself, how, and I'm like, oh, yeah, all right, and I gotta go listen to LaGrange. My Head's in Mississippi's one that comes on the radio every now and then, and I'm like, oh, hey, cool. And that's part of what makes a band my favorite band, is when it's not just Sharp Dressed Man, Legs, and the big hits. It's when the hits that are older, the hits that may have preceded me listening to them, like LaGrange, when I'm going, oh, hey, listen to that. That's the band. That's when I know that I like the band's music in general. There's some crappy ZZ Top songs, but not very many. One of my favorites when I was a kid was TV Dinners, but that's probably because there's a little monster in the video. You haven't seen the Monster TV Dinners video? Go look it up. It's on YouTube somewhere. 41, and we'll end the countdown here. And he'd be higher, but sometimes he gets so artsy that I can't follow him, and that's Peter Gabriel. Peter Gabriel is one of the few singers that, when I've been listening to a song combined with a video, has moved me to tears. And that was the song Biko, Biko. That video, the first time I watched it, moved me to tears. Then I looked into the movie that it's based on, and I looked into the story of Stephen Biko, and it just made me cry more. And Peter Gabriel took what, and again, I'm going to go with Pretty Reckless again here, took what could have been, I'm just your pop Sledgehammer guy. Look, Sledgehammer's a big hit, big time. Look, all my videos are fun. Hey. And he could have stayed in that vein. And instead, he went with stuff like Shake the Tree and Biko and Digging in the Dirt, which was not made for commercial music. It's Digging in the Dirt is this very personal, soulful song. So Peter Gabriel, for me, is one of my favorite artists. So there we are, from 51 to 41, and I will continue this at 40. I don't know that I'll continue it tomorrow, but this is another countdown. I'm definitely, this is it. This is another countdown, and this is of my favorite bands / artists. So you guys can speculate on what's going to be higher up, but there's going to be some bands that I haven't talked about when I've talked about my favorite songs, and it is a little different. It's a little less metal than favorite songs. Favorite songs are usually just metal. Favorite bands, let me take a look. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 are metal. I guess if you count new metal as metal, then 8 of them are metal, but I don't count a lot of this as metal. We'll get there. But thank you very much for watching. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And this has been Mega Man, the entertainment guy. Thanks for watching.